Yo, what is going on, everyone? It is Wraith here, back with another video. Now, if you guys don't know, Season 5 did just get released. I'm sure a lot of you guys are really aware of it, but that means that you guys are restarting in Champions and Arena points. So basically, the grind has started again to get back to Champions and get back to where you can play in tournaments, etc, etc. So in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys tips to win Arena games and how to get to Champions. I personally haven't had enough time to gather some good gameplay for you guys just because I'm in school right now. So I'm going to be using BH Heason's gameplay for this just because he absolutely popped off. So if you really like this gameplay, make sure you check him out down in the description below. But yeah, if you're looking forward to this video or hyped about Season 5, make sure you slap a like button on it, comment what you want to see for a future video, hit that subscribe button, and let's get into it. So when you're just starting off in Arena and you're literally just at like 0 to a couple thousand points, depending on how good of a player you are, and you kind of have to judge this for yourself, that will kind of dictate how aggressive you can be and where you're going to land. So for example, if you were at like 10,000 points last season and you were just popping off, you know you're a good player, you finish top 1,000 consistently in all events, you know you're an average player, make sure that you kind of do whatever you want. Like you can land salty towers, you can land the new POIs, you can W key, you can go for those 20 bomb games, because yes, majority of people won't be as good as you and majority of people aren't going to be that good. Obviously you're going to run across the odd good player, but for majority of people, they're not going to be very good. Like you can see this person in the fight right there, probably not the best player in the game ever, and if you're a decent player, then you can kind of land wherever you want. Like it doesn't really matter. Once you get up to around 2,000 to 3,000 points, then it slowly starts to get a little bit more difficult, and then you kind of got to readjust if you want to play a little bit more safe or passive and you don't need to be as aggressive, or if you're still feeling confident, you still feel like every single person you're coming across you can kill pretty easily, then you can continue to play a little bit more aggressive. And now kind of on the opposite sphere, if you are a not as good player, like if you're still, like you can still obviously be an average player, but if you just don't feel as confident, maybe it's not the best idea to land at a POI or like a new POI. Just land at like steamy or old places that you know that most likely a lot of people aren't going to be. Then you can just easily kind of rank up the arena points because you don't have to worry about getting absolutely clapped by these tryhards or good players. And then same thing goes, even if you land a couple and at 1,000 points you start to struggle a little bit because players are starting to get a little bit better, then just play a little bit more passive. Doesn't mean you have to push everyone, doesn't mean you have to land at these POIs. You can just land there in solos, or if you really want it doesn't really matter, but it just might take a little bit longer if you're landing there in arena. So now the next tip is about fighting, and it's pretty similar to the drop spot. Depending on how confident you are is going to make kind of the difference depending on if you want to be aggressive or if you don't want to be aggressive. So at the beginning points for mid game and end game, like I said, if you're pretty aggressive and you're confident in your own ability, then I would 100% just W key, have fun. Like having fun W keying, in my opinion, or W keying is really, really enjoyable in my opinion. But if you're starting to come up against better players and like people who are a little bit better than you or becoming a challenge, then just focus on staying alive. Like worry about the placement points, because obviously you want to get to champs as quick as possible, and then once you get to champs, you kind of don't have to worry about it for the rest of the season, because obviously this ranking system isn't the best, and then you're just gonna, even if you drop back down to 1,000 points, you're still technically in champs. So just play a little bit more towards the passive end of the game and play a little bit more for placement. So now my next tip is avoid bad fights, no matter kind of what points you are or what your playstyle is. And if you're going for a 20 bomb, or even if you're going for a 10 kill game, whatever the case is, just avoid bad fights. The whole point is to get to Champions League, and if you're dying every couple games just because you're taking bad fights or you're at low HP and you're pushing someone, probably not the best way to get to champions. Obviously, if you don't really care as much about points, then it's not a big deal. You can kind of do whatever you want. But if you're really worried about points and you really want to get to champions as quick as possible, then make sure you're avoiding bad fights. So basically what I mean about bad fights is, one, if you're low HP, you have low builds, you don't have the greatest loot, literally just don't bother fighting. Like just farm up a little bit more, find a little bit better loot, find some shield, whatever the case is, and then kind of figure out where you want to go from there. You don't have to push every single person you see. Even if you're in a W key game and you have 18 kills and there's two 10 people left, you don't have to keep pushing. If you're at low HP, you can just take your time, wait for a third-party opportunity, or whatever the case is. Like I said, if you don't really care about points, it's not that big of a deal, and you can kind of push whoever you want. If you're at low HP and you don't really care, go ahead, push people. But if you do really want to get to champions as quick as possible, make sure you're in the best scenario to win every single fight possible, because if you aren't, well, then you're just going to lose easy fights and you're going to lose easy points that you could have been using to get to champions. So now my next kind of tip and trick, I guess you could say, would be finding a solid drop spot and making sure you start practicing it as soon as possible. So obviously the couple places in the map change. There's like salty towers, a bit of tomato, etc, etc. So just in my opinion, if you can start finding a place that you can consistently drop at where you feel confident going, you know where to rotate, etc, etc, you're going to do a lot better, not only in arena games but also tournaments. So what I personally would recommend is already start looking for a drop spot. If your drop spot's still in the game, perfect, then you should still be practicing there. And kind of same thing as I was saying in the first tip, for the first couple thousand points, I wouldn't worry about dropping there. I'd more just worry about exploring the map, having fun, blah blah blah, W keying a little bit, because players are a little bit worse. But then once you start getting to those like 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 point range, start getting closer to champions, then you can start dropping your drop spot, and again, just start practicing rotating through places like salty towers, etc, so you can kind of learn how to rotate through there. Or if your drop spots are going to be new, like you're going to land at one of the new POIs or new places, make sure you start learning every single chest spawn, every single ammo box, every single kind of place you can rotate from or out of, just to kind of give yourself a good idea of what you're going to have to do to rotate through there. And also a really good tip to kind of keep in mind is when you're at your early points, don't just land salty towers and kind of play around and W key, etc. Like, make sure you're actually paying attention to each building, like where the chest, where do most people tend to land, where can you rotate out of, etc, etc, because again, having map knowledge and knowing exactly where everything is super important. If you need to have a W key game or something like that and you don't know where every chest is in salty towers, and you don't know where ammo boxes are or where people land, but you know you need to get a 20 bomb here to do good in a tournament or whatever the case is, but you don't know because you haven't been playing salty towers, well then obviously that's not ideal, right? So make sure when you're W keying or you're playing at your early kind of game or early points, make sure you're paying attention to where everything is and you're kind of learning the map and going with the flow. So now this next tip, if you're really struggling in arena, you can always find someone else to play with, whether it's a duo or a trio. If you guys don't have anyone to play with, which I know a lot of you guys don't, there's a couple things you can do. You can just literally find people through Discord. If you guys don't have Discord, I highly recommend you download it, and then find some servers for whatever region you are. If you're on West, there's like West Open, East, there's East Open, etc. I'm not sure about EU, but you can 100% just look them up online and figure out how to join them, or even on YouTube. I highly recommend you guys find or download Discord, and then you can start finding players to play with, which is really good to help gain arena points, because obviously by yourself, it's all kind of on you. But if you have teammates or etc, you don't really have to, not everything's on you. You can kind of rely on other people a little bit. So I definitely recommend finding a duo or trio. If you already have one, 100% great. It's always fun exploring the new season with your friends. So if you already have some, make sure obviously they're somewhat decent players, then pop into the game duos and trios. You don't always have to play solos. It is a little bit harder in my opinion to gain points if your duo or trio is bad, but at the same time, if your duo or trio is really good, it's super easy to gain points way quicker than you would solos. So it kind of depends on how good your team is, but like I said, if you don't have a good team, you can always just find people through Discord. Now my next tip is when you get to the end game, it doesn't really matter if you're at low points, but in my opinion, I wouldn't really W key end game unless there's like 2 or 3 people left. End game just becomes a little bit kind of a fest where you don't know what's gonna happen, just because, especially if there's like 8, 9, 10 people left and there's like half and half, or even the zone before half and half, it's super easy to just get third partied. You can literally be fighting someone and then all of a sudden you can get lobby sprayed and then you can die, and getting that win is super important for getting free points. Like, you get a good amount of points for a win, so make sure you're actually going for the win. Yes, if you want, you can go for 20 bomb kills and obviously you're going to gain a lot of points, but getting that win with like 5 or 6 kills is almost just as good as getting a 20 bomb. So in my opinion, endgame, make sure you're really focusing up on the win. Don't really care about kills as much. Obviously, if you can, if there's a person that's getting focused or you have an easy kill, obviously go for the kill. I'm not saying don't like kill people, but I'm saying focus a little bit more on getting that win, because if you can get that win, you're just going to get way more points than you would if you get a kill and then get third party by the entire lobby. So just be aware. Obviously, like I said, if there's 2 to 3 people left and you're kind of in an easy spot to get the kill, 100% go for it. But if there's 9-10 people left, because obviously arena right now is a little bit more kind of, I guess you could say, point incline, like people are playing a little bit more passive, people are going for the win because they want to get those points. So most likely there's going to be some stacked lobbies. So if you're in a stacked lobby, just literally don't worry about getting kills, worry about the win, try and get the win, because you will get as many points possible. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you guys slap a like button on it. Hopefully you guys are excited for this new season. I know I am. Maybe not the best idea adding the charge back, but we'll kind of see how the meta looks. And if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you slap a like button on it. Comment what you want to see for a future video. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.